This is El Loco for Leeds.
Hello there and welcome to Loco for Leeds. It's my channel where we talk all things Leeds United, and today I'm delighted to be joined by ex-Leeds United striker Dom Poleon. Dom, thanks very much for joining me today. How are you, mate?
I'm fine, thank you, man. Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. So we're gonna look at your career at Leeds then. So you were quite young when you came to Leeds, weren't you, Dom? What were your first impressions of Leeds as a club, but also as a city? How did you find it? First impressions of it all.
I'll be honest. I obviously being from London, I didn't know much about Leeds. In terms of my football knowledge wasn't that great. In school and stuff, friends were always at teams like Arsenal, West Ham, the Fulhams, all of the London clubs, and that's kind of really all I followed. So when the opportunity arose for me to come to Leeds, and I knew that Leeds wanted me to come in, it was kind of like, oh, okay, Leeds, I'll just go there. Like, I had literally no expectations. I knew there was in the Championship. Yeah, there was in Championship when I went. And then that was just about it. I didn't know much of the history or whatever. And then when I got to Leeds, happened like when I first got to Four Parch, I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I didn't think it was going to be like this. Like I was mind blown, to be fair. I literally remember I was with my mum, and I was just like, look at this place. This is people coming every day to train, and you know what I mean? Like, I never came through. I wasn't in an academy from a young age. I wasn't always going to train, you know, at the academy train at Four Parks and other teams, training grounds and stuff like that. So I never had that setup. My setup was more of I was a Sunday league player. So when I got to see that establishment, I was like, wow. And then when I happened to sign for Leeds, and you know, my career progressed, I realized how Leeds, the city, is so much behind Leeds. And one thing that everyone says from Leeds, well, the main difference from Leeds to London that I've noticed, and what people say, and I've noticed it also, is the people of the city, the people of Leeds are very friendly. Like when I first went, I used to get random people, even kind of before I kind of broke into the team or whatever, people just kind of greet you and say hi. And I found that weird coming from London because everyone's kind of in the rat race, you know, everyone's head down on their phone. And in Leeds, everyone's kind of got time for everyone, and you get a little high there. And I thought, oh, well, these people are a bit weird up here. So everyone said hello to everyone. But as I grew older, I was just like, nah, man, this is just a beautiful city, and the people are just friendly and welcoming.
So did you come up with your family then, or you know, because you, like I say, you must have been. Were you about 16, 17, Dom, when you?
Yeah, I literally just I left school and then came straight to digs in Wetherby. So yeah, that's where the digs was, and yeah, literally straight from school, signed a scholarship, and then that was it.
Yeah, so you played with some really good players, academy players, but you played with Phillips, didn't you? So I'd just like to get your opinions on Calvin Phillips. Did you see, you know, from that young age that he would be where he is now, you know, sort of 10 years on?
Played with some amazing players, man. But academy-wise, they were coming thick and fast, and it's only now that taking a step back and looking at things that was just normal. Like the academy always had players. I remember when I was at Leeds and we had to do the coaching. You have to do your level 2, and I remember one of the coaches saying to me, "Oh, this kid here, like he's going to be one for the future." happened to be Lewis Cook, happened to be
Oh,
Cookie.
really? Yeah,
And they were like, yeah, he was like, this kid here, blah, blah, blah. He's going to be that. Carried on watching him. Same with Phillips. Cal, we played with him. We used to travel in together on the minibus that used to take us to training. And again, another amazing player. There were so many. Alex Moa. There's so many that were just quality. Sam, Chaz, like the group that we kind of had and that kind of era at the time was like kind of, I don't want to say formidable, but it was like there was kind of like a player for every position. Like slowly, do you know what I mean? So to see where Calvin is now, I'm just over the moon, man. Like he is an absolute baller. And to be fair, he's always been a baller. Like it's not even, I'm not surprised. I'm not, it's good to see him hit the heights that he's hitting. And I just hope that long may it continue.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's great, like you say, as a fan, Dom, it was great to see all these, young players come through because, we love us academy products at Leeds and, to see the young lads coming in, it was great. Certainly every year it just seemed to be just another one coming through. It was great. But you top scored, didn't you, in your first year coming through
Yeah.
the 11-12 season? So at what point did you kind of realise that you were going to be picked into the first team for the kind of following season?
It was under Warnock and me and Sam. Yeah, we went to Cornwall with the team. That was the first thing. I think it might have just only been us at the time. And we went with them. We trained. That was my first ever first team pre-season, being in that environment. And we were just literally just two kids with all these men just, trying to impress or trying to do good. Sam's trying not to give it away. I'm trying to nick a goal in training. Do you know what I mean? Just little things like that. And then what happened? There was a story. I think it was, we was walking off the training pitch. We did the pre-season. We come back and I think me and Sam were walking back into training. And I think the game was the next day. I believe it was against Wolves, first game of the season. And Warnock's walking beside us and he's gone, what numbers do you two want?
Yeah.
And then like me and Sam have kind of like looked at each other like, was it like, what did we say? Like, and we're just like, kind of don't know what to say. And then he went, what numbers do you want? You two young players thinking you're getting a chance to pick a number because you're going to get what you're given. And he kind of just said, look at you thinking you're going to pick a number, blah, blah, blah. Because you should be saying to us, Gaffer, we're happy to take any number. We're happy to be in the squad, Gaffer, and let alone picking numbers. So he just kind of just was like, oh, okay, like just kind of laughed it off. And then the next day we went in, we was next to each other. Sam was 25, I was 26. We was just like, can you believe it? We're in that. So yeah, it was crazy.
So he wasn't playing with you then, was he? He was being serious. What were he like, Warnock, Dom, as a guy, or and as a manager?
He was very to the point. There was no BS with him. He just said it how it is. He had the style that we wanted to play at the time, and we just kind of had to go and execute it. If he was doing something wrong, he'd let you know, and at the same time, if he was doing something right, he'd also let you know. But he was cool.
Good, because he gave you your debut, didn't he, in the end? And you made your debut again in the League Cup, didn't you, against Shrewsbury? You came on as a late substitute.
Yeah.
How did you find that? Because you were still only were you about 19 then?
Yeah.
So how did you feel? Stepping onto Ellen Road?
To be fair, at that time, I think I would have had a few reserve games at Ellen Road by then.
Oh, right.
But then I think, obviously, at that time, the stadium wasn't full. So for the cup, I wasn't that nervous. It was like, okay, you know, you're coming on, you're not starting. You know what I mean? It was kind of cool. I'd say I was more nervous for my actual first start in the league, and that was against Forest. But even in that Shrewsbury game, I remember I came on with Jufi,
Yeah,
and he wouldn't give me the ball. I remember thinking,
really.
"Give me the ball!" Like, yeah, he didn't give me the ball. I was raging with him. But no,
How
I
how
was more
was
nervous for the.
yeah? How was Juve, Dom? You know, because obviously he played with some interesting players at Leeds. How was he? Because he seemed like a real character.
He was cool, man.
Mm,
He was nothing like what I guess his persona or personality is put out there to be. He
mm.
was a funny guy. Um, Kept the ball very, very well. Got loads of assists for Becchio. He was the type of guy for me. Like he'd be in front of the goal, and instead of shoot, he'd square it because he
Yeah,
didn't really care. He never cared about scoring.
yeah. He just
He
wanted
always used
to.
to just wanted to get the assist, and that was it. But no, he was a cool guy, man. He was really nice.
Good, good. Because you say you were more nervous for about that first start, but you didn't quite look it because obviously you got off to a really good start, didn't you, mate? And you got a
Yeah,
goal, and I mean, what were that like scoring on your first start? You know, Ellen Road was obviously quite full at that stage as well. I mean,
yeah, that was. I don't really. I remember the game,
mm,
but in terms of, I remember the goal. I remember going crazy, like running off.
yeah,
Ran to where like my family was,
yeah,
and even like I remember after I celebrated, I thought, oh my gosh, I've run too quick. Like I need to still like play the rest of this game. But
yeah,
even before that, I always, whenever anyone asks me, like I'll never forget. I had Adam Jury behind me,
mm,
and literally, if he had a PlayStation remote to control me to say, "Don't go there, don't go there," don't,
yeah,
literally, I was just thinking, okay, when I get the ball, we've got to do this. But I remember at the time, out of position, I was thinking, okay, just don't let them see. Show him inside, show him outside. Depending where like literally, Jury was shouting at me the whole game. He's like, well done, Dom. Like he was literally like the voice at the back of my head that kind of
yeah,
coached me through the game, and then kind of in the final third, kind of do what you got to do. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I was delighted to score. I think that was the winning goal.
mm,
Um, Becchio scored. I scored, and it was just like I couldn't believe it. Every little achievement at Leeds at the time, I just couldn't believe it. I was like, yes, well done. You know what I mean? Keep going, type of thing.
yeah. Because again, you were still only a teenager, weren't you, at that stage? And you must have just been like, yeah, it must have just been great to be involved and get a goal. We won that game as well, like you say, and fantastic stuff. Because you played a few more as well, didn't you, in the early stages of that season? Um,
Hmm.
then you went on loan to Bury, didn't you? And Kevin Blackwell was there, wasn't he? I mean, he was one of Warnock's mates, wasn't he? And how did you find it going? You know, it was down a level, wasn't it, into League One? How did you find going there? Or did you think you deserved a bit more of an opportunity in the first team at the time?
Um, no, not really.
No.
To, honestly, to be fair, at that time, it was more about just playing games.
Mm,
So I was just like, okay. He was like, you're gonna go here, play some games. I was like, cool. I went there under Kevin Blackwell. I think it was me and Zach Thompson went there.
yeah, yeah, of course.
I I, I remember I think I scored 3 goals, had 2 assists. I think I just did over a month there. Then I got recalled. Then I went back on loan to Sheffield,
Hmm.
played some games there. Then I got recalled again. But at the time, when you're young, you're just about going out there, getting games. There's a few things I remember. Like I think I remember my first game was against Carlisle.
Mm.
I don't know if it was in the cup, but I just remember lining up in the tunnel, looking at their team and thinking, "Oh my gosh, this is a team full of rugby players."
Oh,
I remember
really?
thinking, "Oh my god, yeah." I remember thinking, "Oh my gosh." I was looking at Zach. I was like, "Zach, like, are you like, you see this?" But obviously, when you're young and a kid, you just get on with it. You just felt right, go out there, do your stuff. But
Yeah,
no, it was good times. It was good times.
good, good. I bet it helped with having Zach Thompson there as well, because obviously you knew him from Leeds, and you could have him there as kind of support as well. But like you say, you
Yeah.
got go on. Sorry, Dan.
No, I was saying, yeah. Zach was cool. It was nice to have, like you said, someone there to help with all the stuff that I was going through. That he was going through the same thing.
Because he'd be similar age as well, wouldn't
Zach was, I believe, I want to say he was a year older than me. I think, or it might have been 2 years older than me. But yeah, it was nice. It was good.
he? Good. So you got them recalled then, didn't you, mate? Like you say, you'd signed a new contract as well, I think, in that time at Leeds. And then
Yeah.
when you came back, Warnock had been sacked, hadn't he? So Neil Redfern was in kind of caretaker charge. How did you how was your relationship with Redfern? Because obviously he was an academy coach as well, wasn't he? So did you think you might be able to get a bit more game time coming back in under him?
I was gone by time Redfern took over. I
Oh,
just
right.
happened to sign for Oldham just as that happened. But I was prior to that, Redders, he he'd see me play every single minute of every game I've ever played for Leeds from the
Really?
moment I came from London to Fort Arch. Like,
Wow.
he was obviously the youth team coach. Like, that support network, there was Redders, there was Lucy, that was our welfare officer, there was Mary that worked the reception, that also that worked the office upstairs, sorry, not reception. And those kind of three people for a young kid, especially, once you're the young kid and then you break through, the help and support that those guys give, like, is second to none. And that would have been for all of the players coming through. Like, at that time, it was kind of like, before you make the first team, you're kind of in their care.
Mm.
And then once you make first team, you're like the baby. You're like the baby that goes to the first team, but you're still under their care. They kind of tell you the do's and the don'ts. Like, I think I posted it a while ago now. But
Mm.
once you sign a professional contract, you get a letter to basically say, okay, when you come back, you'll now be a professional. Still
Oh,
report
wow.
to the change. Still report to the change room you normally report to, and when the time is right, you will be called upon by the first team to basically make that transition. It's not just you're a professional now, you go over there. No. You stay in your change room and until once a player, and that's not like a written thing by the players. Like, they don't say, "Oh, what, you're a pro now? Okay, you come." Like, automatically, it's kind of like someone will say, "What, you still over there? Okay, no, you got to come here now." Do you know what I mean? You don't just walk in thinking you're the geezer. But those days you get a letter to kind of say, "Look, this, just trying to help you with the transition." But no, those people, they were instrumental, especially to me, and I could probably speak for all the academy players, that once you make that transition or once you do your 2-year scholarship, they are there from beginning to end. Like, those three people, like, they support you and look after you, and they were instrumental at that time at Leeds United.
Do you still talk to him now, Dom? Like, Redfern and
Yeah. Redders and Lucy. I think I got them on Instagram. So, what I mean, just now and then we touch base, but they know the job that the years and that we spent together. Like, I can't thank them enough. Literally, I can't thank them enough. They're very instrumental.
cool. So going into the sort of next season and the 13-14 one, Dom, obviously McDermott's in charge then, isn't he? So how did you get on with McDermott, and how did the kind of change from Warnock's sort of style of football come? How did you find the transition to his kind of style of football?
Two different managers, two different approaches, two different personalities. McDermott was definitely more quiet, and he's more softly spoken, I'd say. He wasn't. He would shout, but not. I don't want to say. It wasn't excessively loud shouting. Whereas Warnock, if you shouting, like thunder and lightning's coming. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that would say was different. But in terms of the playing style, I think under McDermott, we wanted to try to play a bit more. What else? I think I remember I scored the last game of the season against Watford, and then the following season I did a full season getting like coming on. But again, two different styles. It was all right. It was all right. Again, I think that year was probably my most frustrating year, I would say, because that year I definitely felt that I should have played a lot more. Because that was the year that I scored goals, and then I was still on the bench, and I was always a sub.
Yeah, I mean, you're a sub. You're quite heavily involved, weren't you, Dom? But you were, like you say, coming off the bench most of the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, that kind of time, we played Newcastle in the cup, didn't we? I mean, how was it playing in sort of likes of St James's Park? Because I mean, that must have been quite an experience there, playing there.
Yeah, that was another amazing achievement at the time. I think that. Yeah, well, I was going to say it might have been the first Premier League stadium I've played in, but I think maybe I'm trying to think of maybe we might have touched some places with reserve games, but that would have definitely been the first place that had fans.
Yeah.
So at the time, it was amazing. I remember looking up and at St James's Park, and the Leeds fans were so high up. In that top tier, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, like they're like, we must be like ants to them.
Yeah.
And then playing in the game, like people I've watched on TV. I think I played up against Colaccini. I think Sammy Amiobi played. It was a good game, but I think I'm right. I think Sammy Amiobi did a 1-2 down me and Sam's side.
Oh, really?
He's done the both of us.
Oh, no.
And he's either scored it or he's got an assist. And I just looked at Sam. Sam just looked at me, and I was like, man, I couldn't stop it. He was like, I couldn't stop it. I was just like, it was ridiculous. But no, it was good, man. It was another experience that you just like, when you look back, it was a good time.
Yeah, good man. And you started that season, like you say, you were a bit frustrated that you didn't play more. You started it well because you scored, didn't you, in the cup as well against Chesterfield?
Yeah.
That was a nice one as well. I remember being at that match. And the team started quite well as well, didn't we, in that 13-14 season? But by sort of Christmas time, it kind of got a bit kind of pear-shaped.
Tailed off a little bit.
We had a run of 8 games without a win, including 5 straight defeats, including that 6-0 thrashing against Sheffield Wednesday. I mean, how was the sort of atmosphere in amongst the sort of changing room at that time, mate, given that kind of terrible run, and particularly after that 6-0 thrashing against Wednesday?
Yeah, I think. Listen, any loss is tough to take, let alone like you mentioned the run. But as a young player in the team at the time, it's like the responsibility, I guess, still falls on you because you look at your own personal performances and you look at the things that you can control. But as a group, it's tough either way because, the fans demand it, you demand it from yourselves, let alone demanding it, the manager also demanding it. So it's tough either way. But I think at the time we had a decent group of players that, it didn't turn nasty, if that's the best way to there was no like real finger pointing, and it was just more, we're a group, we're a team, we have to kind of come out of this.
That's good, because I mean, who were your kind of in that sort of season, Dom, who was your kind of friends in that group? Was it Sam? Was it Byram that you kind of mated around with, or?
Yeah, Sam, because obviously we came through together.
Mm,
I was really close with Ross. Um,
mm.
I was really my roomie was Jason Pearce.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, me and him roomed together. I was really close with him. Who else? That year. Vans,
Oh yeah.
like like
He
Vans, I
seems a
was
bit of
really
a
close with.
he seems a bit of a character, Barney.
Yeah, Vans is a like when I was on loan the year before,
Mm.
every time I scored, I'm sure it was like 100 quid. I'm sure every time I scored, he was giving me 100 quid.
Oh wow, that's that's a
Yeah,
bit of
and I
an
was like,
incentive.
yeah, so like I'd score, and obviously I used to train. I still used to train um, at Fort Parch. So like I'd be like, yeah, Vans, I scored again. He'd be like, all right, cool, 100 quid tomorrow. I'd be like, yeah, sweet. And like any reserve game, if I scored, it'd be like 100 quid. So like Vans was a cool guy, man. There's a lot of players there kind of looked after the young boys, like me and Sam.
It was quite an older group of players, wasn't it? Really, yeah. There
Yeah.
were a lot of experienced players in there. One player I would like to ask you about, Dom, who obviously sadly passed away recently, is Marius Salufas. What are your sort of memories of him, and do you have any kind of stories you'd like to kind of tell about him?
Yeah, man. May God rest his soul.
Really sad news.
Marius came. Yeah, Marius came to the club, and we just kind of hit it off. He lived in the
Mm,
city centre. I lived in the city centre. Um, we used to go for Nando's, like countless amount of Nando's. Like he was just he was a really well softly. He was very softly spoken as well,
mm,
and he was kind of like because he was so tall.
yeah,
You'd think and the size of him, you'd think he kind of have like a mean streak to him,
yeah,
but he never really had that personality. But obviously, first meeting, he thought, oh, this guy's he's a big lump. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
But he was really soft. He was really such a cool guy, and like we went to cinema.
yeah.
Um, what else did he do? We done so much. We literally just more like go to training.
Mm.
After training, oh, what are you doing? Oh, I'm going home. Do you want to do something? Ah, cool, let's go Nando's. Ah, cool, we go Nando's. Come back, watch TV. Same thing tomorrow. What are you doing? Nando's on me. He's paying for Nando's. Just little things like that.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? That nice when you can have a fella you get on with so well, you know. And as a fan as well, I don't think we quite saw the best of him really, because I don't think he played that many
No,
really
definitely
for
not.
us. But even when he did play, you kind of felt, oh yeah, he's got something about him at the back,
He's
and
got something. Yeah,
he just
he
had
definitely
that
didn't
kind of.
have his best. I don't think Leeds saw the best of him at the time
Yeah,
that we got him.
I agree. Yeah, because as a fan, like I say, I don't think we did quite see. Although he obviously had something about him. He was
Hmm.
he's a very strong defender. But yeah. So going back into but rest in peace to him, of course.
Yeah, definitely.
Really sad news. But going back to the sort of 13-14 season, Dom, and the next win after that result, after that long bad run, was Huddersfield Town at Ellen Road. We won 5-1. What are your thoughts? What can you remember of that game? Because obviously Cellino came in, didn't he? It was that mad kind of time. Cellino kind of sacked McDermott, then he couldn't because he hadn't been in charge. What do you remember about that kind of time?
The specific game, I'll be honest, I don't really remember.
Mm.
The time of when Cellino come in, I don't think anyone can forget it. It was a crazy time. It was a crazy time to say the least.
Yeah.
He was he changed so much, and it was just crazy. But that actual game, I can't remember. But him
No.
coming in at the time, it was just a big change.
Yeah, because he kind of sacked him, but he couldn't because he hadn't taken full control. And then McDermott got reinstated. Did you have much kind of contact with Cellino at all, Dom, or was it just kind of from the top to kind of, did it get fed through, the
Yeah, it kind of
manager?
got fed through. Yeah, it
Yeah.
got fed through. He had I can't remember who it was at the time, but he had someone that would feed the information
Oh,
down.
really? So, but you wouldn't
Yeah,
actually have any contact with him at all?
no.
Really?
I think
Because,
we met him a few times. Met him a few times. He's come to the training ground a few times, but
yeah,
that was about it.
that's crazy, isn't it? Because the chairman before, it was Ken Bates, wasn't it,
Ken
beforehand?
Bates, yeah.
Did you have much interaction with him?
Well, being a scholar,
Hmm.
you meet him when you get your scholarship. You have like a dinner.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, like even all that stuff. Like you have a dinner at Ellen Road
Hmm.
with, I don't know who it's with, but I just remember I was sat on Ken Bates's table, him, his
Oh,
wife,
wow.
yeah, my mum, and the rest of the scholars, their family. I think it might just be with him,
Hmm.
and you just kind of have a dinner and you meet him, and he kind of like introduces you, has that lets you kind of know what you're in for, congratulates you,
Yeah.
and then kind of sends you on your way.
Crikey, that's pretty good, isn't it? That he does. He takes the time to, get everybody involved, and you can meet him and all that kind of thing. Because Cellino, going back to him, and again as a fan, it was a bit of a nightmare kind of time. Really, you didn't quite know what was going on at the club, and he was just seemed like a bit of a crazy bloke, really. And to say that he doesn't even have any kind of interaction with his own players is quite crazy, to be honest with you, Dom. But it didn't seem. Did you see any kind of? Because it didn't seem to me like he didn't get on very well with McDermott. I suppose you wouldn't have seen anything.
Wouldn't have seen anything, to be
No.
fair. It's at that time it was just everything was just happening,
Mm.
and you kind of didn't. You knew it was coming from the top, but that's all you knew. There was no
Yeah.
like meeting about anything and things like that. It was just like that was
So
just it.
what as a player then, Dom? How do you kind of feel about that? Because obviously you're just getting messages fed through, and you kind of just have to say, all right, yeah, that's fine. We've got to do that then without having any kind of reasoning behind it.
It's tough. Like it's tough because,
Mm.
for instance, the training ground, has a swimming pool, has a
Yeah,
jacuzzi, it has staff that works the reception, they have canteen, have the staff that do the food, you have cleaners, you have this, you have that. I remember turning up one day,
mm.
everything was off, no one's in the building, there's no
Uh,
water in the swimming pool, there's no water in the jacuzzi, everything's off, there's no staff. It was just
and
it was mad. There was no food.
uh,
Then
uh,
like it was crazy.
was that at the point where you had to kind of buy your own training kit or buy your own training socks, and you had to bring packed lunches in, did you, Dom, to
Nah,
training?
we never had to buy nothing. But
All right.
there was a point where we was organizing to get food
Mm.
brought from like the local. I think it was a local shop in Boston Spa, I believe.
Oh.
And then shortly before that was kind of getting finalized, that was one of the players that sorted that out. Then something else happened, and then it basically got to a point where they said, no, 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 we're going to provide you food, but the
Yeah.
food's going to be cooked at Ellen Road and then driven up to Weatherby.
You're
But then
joking.
I think, yeah, so then we was getting food cooked at Ellen Road. It was getting driven up to Fort Arch, and then I wouldn't put my hand in fire and say, but I can't remember if the electricals were on or whatever. But I think the
Mm.
food was just like preserved in like foil and that for us. So by the time we done the drive, it was still kind of warm, and then we was getting food that way.
So
And then again,
beforehand,
at that time, Lucy was involved in like even dishing out the food because there was no one
really,
there to dish the food. Yeah, it was a bit of a crazy time.
because it just got rid of people. It just got rid of people. So there wasn't nobody to. It's crazy that, isn't it? And what was it like before that? So you'd obviously just had it all. You'd go in
Oh,
and the
before
food was there.
before it was like a Four Parks was like it was just a one big family.
Mm,
Everyone knew everyone. Everyone's kind of there. There's things to do. It's just a normal working office, a working
mm,
building.
yeah.
Youth team. There was no reserves. It's more like youth team, first team. Everyone in the building that makes the building run. You'd have your coaches. You'd have just everything running, and then to one day come in, and then it's a shell, and there's no one there, and it was crazy.
Was that, Dom, a sort of indication to you that you had to move on, or was that in any way came into your thinking that it was time to kind of move on at all?
A little bit,
Mm,
a little bit, but then if someone would have told me that Redders would have took over
mm,
just as do you know what I mean? But hindsight's a beautiful thing.
yeah.
But yeah, a little bit. There wasn't much direction at that time because we had no one instated and things like that. But at the same time, I was delighted to see Redders, take charge and do what he did for the team, and then that bred like Moet coming through, Cowstack coming through shortly after. I mean, it just bred a nice Redders being that guy that he was at the club, and then being that guy for the club in terms of
Mm,
that position was just kind of like a fitting time to try merge together that kind of disarray of everything that was going on, and then you have a sturdy candidate that comes in and takes over or takes charge. It's kind of like, okay, yeah, cool, we can get behind this. We can, do you know what I mean? Even though I wasn't there at the time, but
mm,
obviously
mm.
Leeds is still in my heart. Do you know what I mean? So it was nice to see.
I must admit, when Redfern came in, I was delighted as a fan because, like you say, he just gave the young players a chance. He kind of just got us going a little bit more, and I think we did. He was a good manager actually. To be fair, he had quite a few. He had quite a few goes at kind of caretaker, and then he
Mhm.
became the actual manager, didn't he? But before that was Hockaday, wasn't it? I mean, Hockaday came in, and what did you think about him? And what was the feeling in the changing room when he came in? Because obviously, it must have been a little bit of a shock.
Hockaday. I'll be honest. I didn't like him.
Did he not? No.
Nah, I didn't like him. I didn't like him. Like, I don't
No.
mind saying that. I didn't like him. Like,
No.
I just didn't like him.
No.
Like, I
I
just
mean,
didn't like him.
no.
That's
Because
just it.
I mean,
I don't even have words. Do you know what it
no.
is? I've got something's in my head, yeah,
Yeah.
that I remember, and I just think, what a clown.
Yeah.
Basically, the reason. Okay, I'll tell you before anyone
Go
thinks.
on.
I'll tell you the reason
Yeah.
I
Go
don't like
on,
him.
mate.
The reason I don't like him is someone rang the club and told the club that Dom Poleon's
Yeah.
done a runner from a taxi,
Right.
and they said that the taxi dropped them to the stadium
Yeah.
after the football game,
Right.
after the Leeds game at home. He's dropped Dom Poleon to the station, and Dom Poleon's done a runner.
Right.
So, what did he ring me? No, he didn't ring me. So that must have been whatever. So Monday's come, but he's
Yeah.
got that call. So Monday's come. I've come into training. I'm heard the gaffer wants to see you. So I'm like,
Right.
all right. He's going to tell me I'm starting. Is it? I don't know. It might have been pre-season these times now. I can't remember.
Right.
So I've gone into the office and he's gone, is there anything you want to tell me?
Mhm.
I'm thinking, what are you talking about? So I was just like, no. And he's like, is there anything you want to tell me? And I'm like, no. And he's like, I know you done a runner. The cab people called. So then I've gone, so what are you talking about? And he was basically saying to me, don't play stupid. You've been caught. You've done a runner after the game. You got a taxi. Blah 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 blah. So I said, are you crazy? I said, first of all, why would I do a runner from taxi when I drive? Two, I never went nowhere. I went in my car back to my house. And three, isn't it a bit stupid for me to do a runner? I'm not being funny. I play for Leeds United. Every time you get in a car with anyone, you walk on the street, they say, hi, Dom, like that. It's not like me doing a runner from a cab. And he was like, no, I know it's you. I remember him saying that the cab man was talking to this geezer about the game.
Right.
So whoever the guy was obviously pretending to be like, oh yeah, the game was good, whatever he was saying. It was like, mate, the guy said, and I was like, well, this is stupid. I said, I live in the city centre. Like, I have a car. Like, I'm not doing. I said, and furthermore, why are you approaching me in this way? Like, we're not even saying, all right, Dom, like, you're not even saying, like, did you do it? Do you know what I mean? Like, did you do it? Because you're coming down with like the hammer to basically tell me I know you done it off of some like cab driver. I thought, are you like, this is ridiculous. Like, and why would I need to do a runner from a taxi? Like, I'm not being funny. Like I've got enough money to pay for a taxi from Ellen Road to the station. Like, I was like, this is ridiculous. And then when I kind of put that to him, he kind of had to be like, when he realized I wasn't like backing down in terms of me saying it was not me, like, I wasn't saying, are you stupid? But I was kind of looking at him like, this is ridiculous. So when he kind of realized that, it weren't you, he kind of just said, oh, and he didn't really give me an apology. And I just thought, this is ridiculous. You have a young player as well, and you're trying to hit him with this shit, really.
Yeah, because
so after that, I didn't really rate him.
No, well, I'm not surprised. You know, you've got to back your players, haven't you? You've got to back, you know, no matter what you've heard about from whoever, you've got to back your players and trust your players. I'm not surprised.
Or even you have to at least ask the question.
Yeah.
Like, fair enough, you might be told, fair enough, the guy said whatever he said, I was talking to him about the game, whatever. But at least come and say, Dom, this has happened. Was it you? Because it's been reported to the club. For me to say yay or nay. When that, like, you're hitting me with, have you got something to tell? All of this small mind games shit. I just went for it. I was just like, I'm a man. Like, you're trying to talk to me like I'm your son or something. No.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. That you kind of had a bit of a, you didn't like him for that reason, Dom. Because you've got to back your players. You've got to at least give people go in with the right mindset in that situation. For me, Dom, he had a bit of a PE teacher vibe to him, to be honest with you. Very kind of, very, I don't know, strict, or did he have the respect of the players at all?
Well, he didn't have my respect.
Yeah,
but,
of course.
I mean, I think he was, I don't know. I can only speak for myself, but after that little incident, and not only that, how it ended, I just said, "There's no way I can take this man seriously." When you're, like you said, the teachery, if you got something to tell me, like, I'm a grown ass man. Like, you talk to me like I'm. You know what I mean? So for me, no. For everyone else, I can't say.
So, and at that point as well, Dom, obviously with Cellino's influence as well, there was a lot of Italian-based players coming to play for Leeds. How did they kind of integrate into the squad, and did they get on with everybody quickly, or what was it like having them in there?
At the time, it was like there was one, then there was two, then there was three, then there was literally like it was like an English squad and an Italian squad.
Yeah.
Everyone, like, half the change room speaking Italian, half the change room like thinking, what are they talking about? Like, what's going on? Like, but for me personally, I got on with all of them, to be fair. Like, I had a good relationship with the players, and I thought it was cool, to be fair.
Yeah. I mean, and again, from a fan's point of view, you're bringing in all these kind of Italian players. You're thinking, oh, we don't know anything about them, but there's that kind of excitement in there that you think, oh, he might be quite good. But I mean, because
they brought, I'd say they brought for me anyway, obviously I'm an attacker, but they brought a ruthlessness. Like Berardi, when he used to tackle, I used to be like, oh my. I think one of the games we played, he got like a red card and he literally halved the geezer like in half. And I was like, Berardi, like, what are you doing? He was like some of the tackles that used to come in from the defenders. Oh, what was the other one? What was the centre back's name? That not Pepe. It began with B.
Oh,
He was a centre.
Belushi.
Belushi, like again, his tackling was crazy.
Yeah.
I used to be like, "Oh my days, this is training, yeah." And they used to be like, "Oh, no, sorry," and I used to be like, but then after a while, you realise that it's not them trying. Maybe in the beginning, it's a little bit of the Italian players, saying like, we're here to stay, whatever. But after a while, you realise that's just how they play. So you kind of just have to like it for what it is. But I got on with them, man. I thought it was really cool.
Good. I mean, so that kind of takes us into obviously the start of that season, John, where you start the season and obviously you say you didn't get on with Hockaday, but you were still involved in. I think you were involved in every single one of his squads that he was there for. Obviously, he wasn't there long, but obviously then he's. Do you remember anything about that game at Bradford where he lost his job?
Yep. And so, Billy not squad. He was another friend of mine. That was a good game, boy. I think that might have been my first. It was. I think it was my first encounter with them in the first team because obviously they wasn't in our league. But I'd always used to hear like Leeds and Bradford. It was always growing up doing my scholarship. It was always Leeds and Huddersfield. Huddersfield always want to beat you. Leeds and Bradford, they always want to beat you because they're around the corner. So that game, I remember I was at Valley Parade, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is what everyone's talking about. Like it was packed. It was a night game. It was loud. It was just going off. But yeah, we unlucky. It was a good game. It was a good goal to win the game from Billy. He scored. He took a touch edge of the box and pulled it in the roof of the net. But it was one of those games.
It was a great. I remember watching that game. It was great. But you're right that Bradford do always want to beat Leeds. And I'll just ask you a bit. In a little bit. Obviously, you played for Bradford as well, didn't you, Dom? So I'll just touch on that a little bit later on. But yeah, what was said? Do you remember anything that was said after that match? Did you have any indication that he was going to be out the door?
I can't remember. When did he leave? Obviously, you're saying it was that game, but I don't know if it was like after that game, right? He said bye. Or I feel like he said bye at the training ground. To be fair,
right.
So it might have been he might have come in and then said his goodbyes at the training ground. But I'll be honest, I didn't really care.
Yeah,
see you later, mate.
Happy to see him go. So obviously, how did your move come about then, Dom, to leave Leeds? Because it was deadline day, wasn't it? Was it kind of was it a decision you'd made, or had you heard that there was interest from Oldham, or how did that come about?
It's a super long story, but I was I don't want to say I was forced out, but Cellino didn't make things easier because I was supposed to sign a new deal with Leeds.
Right.
That on that transfer deadline day. I was supposed to sign a new deal, a 3-year deal to stay at Leeds and then go on loan to Oldham.
Right.
And then for whatever reason, it didn't come about. And then it happened that I ended up basically signing a permanent at Oldham rather than signing the 3-year deal at Leeds. And then shortly after that, like you said, Redders took over. Then I was just like, do you know what I mean? But in an ideal world, it would have been, okay, sign the deal, go sign on loan for Oldham, 3-year deal at Leeds, but it just didn't plan out that way.
That's a shame, really, because I remember, I don't know if you're aware of it, John, but, there's that tweet where it was deadline day. And
then me and Matt Smith left, Yeah,
and they say, oh, don't go to bed yet, and then shortly after that, like you say, Smith has gone and then yourself has gone, and it was disappointing really because it was two of our attackers what had been good, previous seasons, and you'd just gone and everything. It was disappointing, really. I was disappointed to see you go. But going on to, obviously, some years later, you went to Bradford. How did you see? Obviously, you saw the rivalry from the other side. Did you get any stick from the lads you were playing with at Bradford for being at Leeds beforehand, or
Nah, not from
no?
none of the players.
No.
And I always kind of, as a player, look, if you're not going to come up against the rival team, you're
Mhm.
not really you're not gonna feel it. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I didn't really feel it as such.
Mm.
It would have been interesting, do you know what I mean, to see me to, maybe a cup game or something to play against these. But at the time, I didn't really feel it. It was just kind of like, you know, just kind of got on with it, really.
Yeah, because they were Bradford in League One, were they, Dom, at the time?
Yeah, they were League One.
Yeah,
It's kind of like,
yeah.
also, that was another thing that, I got told, well, when we was younger, that there was the big, but I didn't know much about Leeds when I was younger,
Mm-hmm.
the big rivalry between Leeds and Man United.
Mm.
And then I
Of
remember
course.
as a young boy thinking, oh, move that way. I remember thinking, oh, there's a rivalry, but then I only saw it live in the flesh when it was a cup game, and I
Mm.
think I ball boyed at Ellen Road, and then I remember seeing all the Man
Oh,
United fans. They wore all black,
right.
and I think, did they win that game? I can't remember who won the game,
Was that
but
the
I remember
three?
I was thinking
Was that 3-0, Dom? I think Carling Cup, League
it
Cup.
must. It was a cup. It must have been a cup. Move.
Uh-huh.
Sorry, dog.
Right.
No, yeah, it was a cup game. I can't remember again. When you're a scholar, you do
Yeah.
101 jobs, man. You ball boy, you do first team equipment, you do everything. But
Really?
yeah, that was one of the games I said, let me make sure I ball boy for that game just to see the Man United rivalry that I've
Mm.
heard about. And I was like, oh, that was another shock. I was like, oh, this is some real stuff going on here.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, obviously the rekindle it. In about a month's time, we play them again. I mean that takes me nicely into my next question, actually, Dom. How it's obviously been 6 years now since you left. What are your feelings towards Leeds now? And are you happy to see them back? In the Premier League now?
Listen, I'll always support Leeds. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, that is like, that's that's like my academy, my first, a lot of things are my first for Leeds. And not only that, because it was such a family environment, like I said,
Yeah.
if you're a under seven, under eight, and then you go all the way through the rankings and then go to the first team, that means something special to you because you've been there all your life. I
Mhm.
have like half of that experience because I came just as I left school from being basically a Sunday league player,
Mhm.
did my scholarship, built that family relationship, saw the Leeds fans, etc., etc. Went on to play in the team. So that Leeds, all of those, I have the same sentiment that the under seven, that Calvin has, that Sam Byram has, that Charlie has, that they've been in the academy all those years and they have that. I just have half the time or less than that time,
Mhm.
and it just feels the same way. So I always love Leeds and support Leeds and love to see them do well, especially when it's players that I know, players that I've played with. And yeah, man, I can't wait to for COVID to finish to actually
Mhm.
go to a Premier League Ellen Road game. That would be something amazing.
You and me both, mate. Yeah, can't wait to get back in there. Um, so overall, Dom, how do you kind of sum up your time with Leeds then?
What do you want? One word or a couple?
No, go for a couple, mate. Yeah, sum it up
I'd
the best way
I'd
you
say
can.
my time at Leeds was life changing. Um, it was amazing in terms of not only like the on-field like success, I should say. I'd say more so the outside, the relationship with the fans, the going for a Nando's or in the city centre, and could see 100 people and they say, "Hi, Dom, you all right, Dom?" Like that vibe and the fan base and just how the city is like, for me, I don't really separate the city and the club. because it's kind of like, it's not just a work thing. Like it's like a one thing. It's like they're together. They are in unison. Like it's not just on match day. It's on a Tuesday when you're going to the cinema. It's on like the fan base and the love and the passion that the Leeds people have and the Leeds fans have. That's just always on. It's never off. Good, bad, or indifferent. That's always on. So, no, man, I love my time at Leeds, man. It was great.
Good man. Have you been back? Have you been back to Leeds at all, to the city, or to watch a match? Obviously.
Oh yeah. I've been
Yeah.
I've been back a few times. Yeah, I've been back to watch a match. I've not been back to watch a match though. To be fair,
No.
nah, I've always been back to see my friends and stuff like that. But in terms of a match, nah, I haven't.
No.
But that's on the list. Like I said, that's on the
Yeah.
list. That's on the list.
Good man. Good man. Well, it's been a pleasure to speak to you anyway, Dom. So we'll wrap it up there. And thanks
No
very
worries.
much for speaking about your time at Leeds, and all the best with your career, mate. Going forward.
Thank you very much, man. All the best.
Take care, bud.
Take care.